Preparing to live stream. We'll be live here in just a second. All right, and we are live on YouTube. Please continue.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take the roll. We have Elise Lipnick is excused. It's Alan Jacobitz. Here, Billy Larson is excused. David Haber.
That's me.
Thank you. John Hughes.
Here.
John Deming.
Here.
Lisa Haynes.
Here.
Mel Fuller.
Here.
Nancy Ross.
Here.
Rebecca Smith. Here.
I'm here.
Okay. Sandy Kinney.
I'm here.
Okay. And Steve Patterson is excused. That's everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, do we have some introductions to do? Should we do those first?
Rebecca, would it be okay if we allowed each person to quickly introduce themselves?
Yeah, I think that's terrific. That way we can put the names to the voice that we hear. So that'd be great. So go ahead and start us off, Marilyn.
Nancy, could you introduce yourself and your role?
I can. I'm Nancy Ross, and I am the past president of the Friends of the Senior Center Board.
David?
I'm a retiree and used to work at Western Oregon University in the gerontology department.
And a brand new member of the Advisory Commission.
That's correct.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Rebecca?
My name is Rebecca Smith. I'm the current president of the Center 50 Plus Advisory Commission, and I'm a partner with Salem Electric.
Lisa Haynes, brand new to the commission.
Right when I'm drinking my coffee.
Welcome.
Lisa Haynes, and I work in senior living, but I've also been a long-time volunteer with the LEASE, with the Alzheimer's Association.
Get another snack.
Welcome. Welcome. I'm so glad to see you. John Hughes.
John Hughes. I run an in-home care agency called Comfort Care here in Salem.
And also the voice behind.
The Aging in the Willamette Valley radio show on KMUZ.
We wouldn't want to waste that fantastic voice. It's good you're on the radio. I love it. Hey, did we freeze?
No, I think everything's okay.
Let's see. Mel Fuller.
Hi, my name is Mel Fuller. I'm the program manager of Meals on Wheels with Marion Polk Food Share. We are a Center 50 Plus partner.
Marilyn froze, but I'm sure she's coming right back.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yes, we can see you, Marilyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Who have we not introduced? Oh, John Denning.
Hi there, I'm John Deming. I work in healthcare at Salem Health, and I've been on the committee now for just over a year.
I'm Sandy
Denning
Kinney.
introduce himself.
I'm a member of the commission, and also I'm on the board of directors for the Friends of the Senior Center.
Okay, anyone else from the commission?
Me.
We have Julie with us today. Julie's first meeting. Would you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Julie Ledke. I'm the program manager for ADRC at the Northwest Senior Disability Services. Kind of slipping into the shoes of my predecessor, Beth Jackson. So I am the new Beth and have been in the role since April 1st, but haven't been able to meet with this group until now. So I'm pleased to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and now if we could introduce our guests today. Gretchen, would you mind doing introductions?
Well, certainly. My name is Gretchen Bennett, and I'm on the staff team at the City of Salem's Mayor and City Manager's Office and serve as a liaison on issues related to homelessness. And with me today is Lindsay Dent with the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency. Lindsay, can you say hi too?
Good morning, everybody. I'm a Sheltering Services Program Manager over at the Arches Project. Glad to be here.
Welcome.
Okay, is there anyone we have not introduced or any other public? Well, welcome everybody. It's nice to see everybody's faces. Okay, Rebecca, back to you.
Hey, thank you. I'm just really, really happy to be seeing everyone again as well. I'm sure everyone's on that same feeling. I bet we can all relate to each other very well right now. Let's go to the agenda that we have set out for today. So do we have any additions or deletions? I don't hear any changes. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any abstentions or declining to vote? Okay. And then, so we'll go on with the agenda as written, and then it looks like we also have minutes from our last meeting back in March. That was what it feels like. Were there any changes we need to make to our March minutes? Okay, I don't hear anything. So if there's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes as written.
I'll approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, Nancy.
Second.
Thank you. And so all those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? Okay, moving right along. That was easy. It's like we never left, guys. Okay, so this part for public comment. I don't think we have any public besides our guests, do we?
No, at this point, I have not received any public comments or questions. So it will be our guests who will speak next.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I would love to hear our friends from the Arches Project and our other guests from the Mayor's Office. That'd be great. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. This
Gretchen,
is
would you like to do it?
Yes, if that's all right, I'd like to go ahead and begin, and then I'll turn the mic over to Lindsay if that's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time today because this project that we're looking at is is moving quickly, and I really need the opportunity to be able to talk with you. So thank you for gathering even in this digital environment. As you're probably aware, the city is collaborating with our regional partners in the city of Kaiser, Marion and Polk counties, and a variety of nonprofit organizations to address a real crisis related to homelessness. I've been struck in my learnings recently at just how complex and large the issue is. It also just emerged as the top issue that our community is concerned about in a recent poll that we did. The latest estimates that I can see for the Salem-Kaiser area are estimating that we have about 1,500 people who are without shelter and, well, who are homeless. About 300 are able to access shelter beds. And so we have around 300 spots in the shelters, like in the Union Gospel Mission, for example. And then there's about another 200 people who have been looking for locations to be in their vehicles and have been sleeping in vehicles. That's leaving about approximately 1,000 persons who were unsheltered, who were out in the streets and sidewalks and parks in the Salem and Kaiser area. And so we've been working really hard on looking for additional sheltering solutions. One of the priorities within that work is focused on the winter season. We're concerned about the life-saving need to be able to have indoor places for people to be able to get out of the cold when it gets cold. And so we've been partnering and investing in the Salem Warming Network, which is coordinated by the Community Action Agency, that is looking for partners to stand up indoor spaces for people to be able to get out of the cold. Today, we're here specifically about one of those warming shelters that are contemplated. This particular shelter would be open for the duration of the cold snap, so approximately December through March, and would be focused on that work of getting people in out of the cold. And the location, the city has located a property that's across the street from you all on Portland Road. So that's what brings us here today to talk with you about that project. Let's see, so the city's role in it is to acquire the property and then enter into a lease agreement with the Community Action Agency for the purposes of operating the warming shelter for the duration. And so that's why Lindsay is here with me, as she would be able to speak to what the plans are for the operations of the location. Very much want to work closely with Center 50 Plus to help make this the best possible for everybody involved, and want to be able to hear your questions and concerns today. I'll turn it over to Lindsay now to share kind of what's specifically in mind for the location across the street.
Thanks so much, Gretchen. Excuse me. So I'm not sure if I can share my screen. I'm going to try and figure this out. So please bear with me. If I am able to, I can just kind of go through a couple of quick slides and open the floor for questions, if that would be all right. Let's see here.
You should have the capability. Do you have does the green share screen icon appear on your bottom menu, Lindsay?
Bottom menu. Let me maximize this. Oh, there it is. Yes, I'm not the most tech savvy person.
No, you're fine.
Apologies.
You're
Let's
fine.
see if this works. Okay. Shoot, it says host disabled the participant screen sharing. Is there any way the host could allow me to do that?
There we go. Try again.
All right. There we go. Excellent. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so hopefully everybody sees a slide on the screen with our logo at the top and some boxes, some blue boxes. Is that
Yes.
correct? Oh, good. Okay,
Yep.
great. So just real quickly, I kind of wanted to give the overall picture of what sheltering services looks like for chronically homeless people in our communities. And chronically homeless means that they've likely been homeless on the streets for at least 12 months. So it really starts at the lower end of unmanaged camps, like we have at Wallace and Cascade Gateway. And then through that process, we deploy outreach teams and coordinated entry assessment teams to go in and make sure that everybody receives a housing assessment as much as possible. We have several thousand assessments in our system. And so that will determine eligibility for various housing programs and opportunities within our communities. What we're going to focus right now on is on the winter duration warming, which, as Gretchen mentioned, it's really slated from around December through March, about 12 weeks or so. And that's going to be located at 2640 Portland Road. So as far as the basics of what the Salem Warming Network is, the Salem Warming Network is comprised of various site locations. Salem First Presbyterian Church, Capitol Park Wesleyan Church, South Salem Friends have been key collaborators. We also have some new additions this year with Salem Leadership Foundation and Seeds of Faith. So we work together and we activate to open our sites at various locations throughout the city when temperatures reach freezing. So we have a mix of paid staff and volunteers. We always have a need for volunteers to make sure that we are able to accept as many people as possible and get them warm and away from the elements. So duration is that it begins at a certain time, so December, and it goes nightly. And so what we have done as a result of House Bill 4212, the emergency declaration on sheltering, we proposed to the city that we would allow, that they would allow us use of the facilities for emergency sheltering. So we just have to adhere to some guidelines as far as restrooms and some other expectations in order to make the project happen. And the project is low barrier, which means we are going to try to remove as many barriers as possible so somebody is able to at least have a warm bed at night to sleep in. This means we will allow pets, for example. The previous scope nationally used to be, we're going to provide transitional housing and you have to cross all of these loopholes in order to be eligible. That really eliminated a lot of people in communities from being able to access any shelter. So we recognize that removing the barriers is the best practice in order to shelter as many people as we can. And then of course we have several adaptations to services due to COVID this season, and it's unprecedented, and it has twofold. It's reduced our capacity to be able to provide shelter beds, unfortunately. It's also reduced our volunteer pool. So we have a greater need for volunteers now more than ever, because a lot of times the people that would volunteer for our programs were maybe elderly or immunocompromised, and it's just simply not safe for certain people to be able to volunteer with this population. All right, so I wanted to share this screen with you. What you'll see on the left side is in 2019, the last Wednesday in January every year, we have what's called a PIT count, or a point in time homeless count. And what we determined, we have many trained volunteers and staff from Arches all the way across our continuum of care. They go out to areas throughout Marion and Polk counties to count unsheltered individuals. And what we determined in the last Wednesday of 2019 in January was that there's roughly 30 individuals residing unsheltered in the very neighborhood that the Portland and Silverton Road location is at. And I imagine, I know the stats aren't in yet, but I imagine this next point in time count will show some growth. I think we've all can agree that we've seen growth in the visibility of homelessness. The other map that you'll see here is sheltering services throughout the city of Salem specifically. So I believe, I could be wrong, and Gretchen may correct me, I believe we have 13 scattered site vehicle camping, safe camping locations throughout the city. We have our Arches Day Center where people are routed for day center sheltering, which includes laundry services, showers, food, and then access to services. So we have a navigation program where we'll help to remove barriers so that people can obtain housing. And then we've got, of course, our city parks. And then what you see right there, the upper yellow, is the Portland Road location that we're looking at for this winter. Right. So regarding the population that we are looking to have in the Portland Road site, what happens, like I mentioned in the beginning, is we have our coordinated entry process. So everybody living in camps or anybody that comes to our location looking for housing services receives an assessment. From that assessment, what we're doing for this site is we're looking at who's been assessed in the last 6 months, who is chronically homeless and is elderly over the age of 65 and is an adult with chronic health conditions. So that can mean cancer, respiratory issues, diabetes, heart conditions, a variety of health conditions that would make them more vulnerable to be on the street this winter. So we pull and we determine at that point if the person is still interested in housing, maybe perhaps they've been housed or they're simply not interested in the program. If they're interested, they would need to enroll and agree to the guest expectations, which is low barrier, but we still expect that people maintain appropriate behavior, that they are not harming themselves or others, that there is no theft, and the basics that it would require to have a safe operational shelter. So after the program enrollment, we will have up to 25 individuals inside the location. They are able to stay nightly from around 6 p.m. until 7 in the morning, 29 consecutive days. So what we do after the 29 days is not only are we going to do additional deep cleaning with COVID, but we're going to reassess if they've been a good program participant, if they're eligible to continue in the program, or if we need to proceed on so making a different selection. All right, and so regarding COVID, I'm almost done. Regarding COVID, what we will be doing in addition to the basics, which is everybody sleeping at least 6 feet apart, there's physical barriers between everybody. Everybody must wear their face mask at all times unless they are on their mat eating or sleeping. And this is all Oregon Health Authority and CDC best practice recommendations. So in addition to those, we will be screening everybody, staff, volunteers, and clients at least once per day. We do temperature screening, so we check their temperature and we check for COVID exposure as well as symptoms. If we determine, based on CDC guidance, that this person is susceptible, is symptomatic and may have the virus, we immediately isolate them and we have an agreement with a local transit company as well as a hotel. So they'll be automatically sent to a hotel for testing, for wraparound supports and isolation so that they can return to health. Best case scenario, they have chronic health conditions and they're simply symptomatic without a COVID diagnosis. But if in the event that we do have somebody that tests positive for COVID, we do have Marion County, Alluvium Services, and other community partners to deploy so that we are acting swiftly and quickly to try to keep everybody as safe as possible. And then finally, just our community needs. We definitely are hiring for positions to help run these shelters. We are always recruiting volunteers, and we have community updates frequently. So I encourage everybody to email me if you have particular questions, as well as reach out to and explore our opportunities if you're interested. So that is the short of what we've got going on here with this particular project. And I'm happy, and I'm sure Gretchen's happy to ask or answer questions as they come up. Let's see, stop share.
So now this is the time to ask questions and get a sense of, what this means to us here at Center 50 Plus and open discussion. So feel free to unmute and ask questions, please.
I have a question. It's a bigger, it's kind of on the larger community coordination set. I've just been recently tapped to participate in the MAST. Have you heard of this process? The multi-agency something transition team. It's having to do with fire recovery. I don't know if you've heard, like, so I guess I'm learning more about it because I can't even remember the name of it. But they're looking at housing for people who are impacted by fires, and because they're looping in ADRC, they're looking at me as the area rep for this. So I'm curious to know more if you've had impact of fire victims as well, because we served at the state fairgrounds just directly post-fire, and we encountered, of course, people who were chronically homeless as well as people who were made homeless by fire. So I'm just curious if there's additional awareness and coordination going on, and I'd love to just tap into that, but just curious where that weighs in, if there's funding and extra support available from FEMA for some of your projects that people might have been multiply impacted in multiple ways, not just chronically homeless, but also displaced by fire.
Lindsay, I don't know, you might know more about that than me. What I'm aware of is that people who were impacted by the fires received a kind of an assessment or a screening process through the Red Cross. And then as they begin to ramp down their role and the coalition of partners are stepping in, there are opportunities for people to connect through those resources. I know there's focus on if a person lost their shelter due to the fire, that unlocks certain FEMA supports. If a person had already been homeless, I think that's less of a natural case. I know anecdotally, we're certainly seeing people in Salem who initially had been unsheltered up the canyon or doubling up in homes that are no longer here. And so I know that the Northwest Human Services and Community Action and a variety of partners have been carefully watching the resources available and making sure to communicate those to people. But that's about what I know about that. One of the things we're looking at is, it was on Lindsay's slide, is the idea of being able to create an additional hotel, to acquire a hotel in the county, to be able to house people who were unsheltered due to the fires as well. And so that's a project that we're working toward. It won't be ready this winter. It certainly won't be. It's on a slower timeline, the hotel project. Lindsay, would you have anything to add?
Only a little bit, only briefly. I think you touched it well. And I have limited knowledge as far as the coalitions and the teams that are really being deployed. That's more of our administrators. I can say that we do have a hub site, a resource site over in the canyon that is still standing. And so we're partnering with the hospital, medical over there, just to make sure that everybody has those opportunities into housing, as well as carving out some funding specifically for fire victims.
Found it. It stands for Multi-Agency Shelter Transition Team. So that's why it's like, I'm so glad you're here today, because I'm learning about shelter opportunities that I'm supposed to know about that I didn't. So thank you.
I have some quick questions, if that's okay. So how many, and I apologize if you, if this was included in the slides and I missed it, but what is the capacity? What is your number of beds?
So due to COVID, indoor capacity is 25.
Mm-hmm.
We have 25. To keep people, at least 6 feet.
Okay, and it's from 6 at night until 7 in the morning?
That's right.
Okay, so that includes dinner time. Will there be food for them there?
So we have dinner available 7 days a week at Arches, and we do outdoor dining and to-go style because of the virus.
That's a long walk.
Yeah, and so in addition to that, we have options for people. It's not a meal, it's not a full meal, but we always have snacks available, protein bars, noodles, microwaves, that of course we're going hands-free so that clients aren't really able to handle the microwave or reuse coffee cups and things like that. But regarding answering your question, we will have food opportunities as well as transportation opportunities, and people can elect not to have to check in at 6 p.m. They can choose at 8 p.m. if that's more beneficial for them.
Is there transportation between the site and Arches for the dinner meal?
So we're looking at two
Like a
times
shuttle?
per- Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. So we're looking at 2 times per day, once in the evening and once in the mornings, to really encourage people and provide that access piece to day sheltering.
Okay. And then out of the back kitchen at Center 50 Plus, we serve a pickup meal for our for seniors in the area who are 60 or over. So what I'm anticipating is when the shelter is closed during the day, they'll be hanging out in the parking lot at Center 50 or around the area. Why isn't the shelter open during the day? Is it a staffing issue or yeah?
That's
Okay.
absolutely right. Yes, I would love to be able to have it available 24/7 around the clock, but we just simply don't have the resources.
Okay.
I would add that I know that you're not a hangout location. You're a location where people come to maybe take a class or have a lunch, and so I know that the team is going to be working to communicate, what's appropriate. Like if somebody were eligible to come over for a class or something, that's one thing, but we wouldn't want to do anything to imply that people are allowed to come over and just be in the parking lot or be at the center all day, because we understand that's not the functionality of the Center 50, if that's
Right. And that has happened in the past during really hot weather or really cold weather. And I'm just wondering how, I mean, I think Maryland, the center isn't even open to the public right now, is it? It's
No,
closed.
it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. But we have about 50 or so volunteers a day for Meals on Wheels that come to the site to pick up the meals during our distribution time. And with COVID safety and concerns, if there's a bunch of people outside, I think our drivers are going to get kind of nervous, and I just want to make sure that the clients who are staying at the shelter understand what Center 50 Plus is and what it does and what it doesn't do. I'm imagining we're going to have some people coming over to get lunch, and we'll feed them. We don't turn people away. So I think that we'll probably see an uptick in the people who come over from over there to get lunch. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's
out
hard
loud.
to say because truly we don't know either what that might look like for you. But what I would encourage is that if things do become problematic and it's identified that they are participants in this project, then be communicated with that, because that would, we have ways, are they really a good fit for that program? And we can take a look at those things and determine if a different placement is more appropriate. So if things do become problematic, it's important to communicate that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's problematic. I think it's great that this is happening, because I live close to Center 50 Plus in this neighborhood, and I see the people who are camping and who are outside all the time. And I think that having a closer shelter for them, I mean, it's a big city, so just having 1 or 2 shelters can create a significant barrier to somebody who's more than a mile away for walking. I would only ask that maybe there's more opportunity for transportation throughout the day, especially during bad weather, because it's a walkable distance from here to Arches. But if you have any kind of mobility issues, or it's really, really cold and you don't have the right you don't have a good enough jacket, or, there's this whole bunch of things that could make getting back and forth from here to Arches multiple times a week really difficult. So that would be only my suggestion, is to add more transportation opportunities.
Our parking lot is marked that it is not a parking lot. It's only a parking lot for those that are actually in the facility accessing services at Center 50 Plus. Also, I think really important, I think it's a good point that Mel's making. What is the expectation during the day? Can they stay on the parking lot across the street? Where are they supposed to go? And also, will you have restrooms for them to use outside of the space during the day hours? Our facility's closed. It is a distance from here to downtown. I'm just curious what your expectations are of the folks there. And in terms of, you've mentioned the 25 being able to stay inside. What are your plans for the parking lot for overnight staying? And then my third question, I'm going to give them all at once so I don't forget. How you may have 25 that are considered participants in your program, but what about their friends and their folks that they have grown connected to during their time? How will you handle them congregating at that location to visit and hang out with their friends?
These are great questions.
Oh.
Hi. Yes, great question. So the first one is, where are people going to be during the day, if they're going to be allowed on site or not? And the expectation as it stands right now is that no, we are not going to have our site open and available during the day for people. So we will be having paid security on site, and the expectation is that they can choose to go somewhere via public transit, or we would of course encourage them to come to the Arches Project for day sheltering supports, right? As far as restrooms, we'll have a minimum of 3 restrooms available. We're also going to have, hand washing stations and outdoor heat source only during when people are waiting to be able to be screened into the facility. So that will come and go. We are right now, as I mentioned, our staffing capacity and the resources available for staffing is limited. So at this time, we are doing a phased approach for indoor congregate sheltering versus outdoor sheltering. So there's a likelihood that we will increase as we go along in the season, having availability and access for safe parkers for the safe parking program among the 13 that are in the city, as well as a possibility, but this is really unknown at this point. I'll just be quite frank. If we will do managed tent camping. Okay, so that would be up to 20 sites, again, security 24/7. And then one of those expectations would be that we will not allow guests or unauthorized visitors on site, and that will be monitored. And as far as friends and connections, if people, the choice really is they can participate in the program, or some people may not, because they do have strong connections, and there is a culture within this population where, if they have to be separated from their cohorts, they're maybe not going to choose to participate, and that's okay too. So I'm not sure, did I touch on all of your questions, Marilyn?
You did. I think, for us we are very thin staffed here. We do not have 24/7 security. We do not have outside restrooms. Frankly, the truth of the matter is we don't staff to maintain garbage pickup, restroom cleanups, security monitoring. And so it is a concern that you close at the end of the day, or close in the morning, say everyone needs to leave. They're too tired to go downtown. It feels too far, and they just get shooed across the street because we don't have anyone there to manage it. And we don't have identified resources to manage it either. So I think that is a concern in terms of, are we just going to keep moving the issue around and around and not really address it because we keep saying there's no resources. Well, we too do not have the resources, nor does the housing next to us and their homeowners. They are not staffed to maintain their properties at that level. So
I had some more questions, and I don't want to overtake this session. So if anybody has questions, feel free to cut me off. But so will there be outside restrooms available and extra garbage receptacles? Will the shower trailer make an appearance once in a while? I just want to, a dry, warm place is important, but there's so many more needs that come with that. And I'm not in any way saying I don't want this to happen, because I think it's great that it is. I just want to make sure it's managed properly, and then we can all be good neighbors together for these people.
I appreciate that feedback, and I hear you that the resources are limited, and we're not. Maybe it's not even the scope of somebody's purview to have to monitor, the issues or challenges that come along with chronically homeless population, right? That are people that are living on the streets. And so, yes, there will definitely be garbage receptacles available. We are looking to do outdoor restrooms if and when we do the outdoor camping and vehicles. Okay. And
you got to have restrooms out there all the time though. Otherwise things like, and I'm just being really frank here because it's happened. Otherwise, our garbage cans get used as restrooms. People will come and find a corner of the building where nobody can see them and relieve themselves there. And this is without a warming shelter across the street. This is just the natural challenge of not having a private space to use the restroom or a place to put your trash. It happens naturally because there's nowhere to go. And so I would really strongly like to advocate that extra restrooms and garbage receptacles be placed outside so that it's part of being a good neighbor. That's how it is, especially if Center 50 Plus is closed to the public and people can't come in and use those restrooms there.
I can talk with Lindsay about this later, but because it's not my meeting to ask questions, but I'm finding myself wondering if a restroom was placed outdoors at the location, if it would somehow imply people were allowed to be at the location. And I think what we're understanding is that it would help the neighbors if we had the program participants not remain in the neighborhood during the day. And so I think that's the idea behind the shuttle, that in the morning, basically program participants could board the Arches shuttle or board the Chariots bus and leave and go to the daytime services available that have restrooms. I guess my rookie worry would be if we left a restroom out in the parking lot, it might facilitate people deciding not to leave and then just wanting to be in the area. And then they go to that parking lot or across the street or wherever. I think we're trying to encourage people to leave the area during the day.
But it's okay that they're there. They live there. It's their neighborhood. It's a neighborhood. I mean, at the end of my day or night, I don't have to leave my neighborhood from where I live. And I think that, I want to encourage people to take advantage of the services that are available to them, and having transportation at hand is great. But, even if the warming, you got to go to the bathroom. You got to have places to go to the bathroom. You got to have places to put your trash. And if we're making this a home for people, I think they should have those services. And not having them there isn't going to encourage them to go somewhere else. They're just going to do it anyway. They're just going to find a place to go to the bathroom and do it. They're just going to find a place to put their trash and put it. Having it there available will just help make the environment for everyone better.
Yeah, I think you bring up some really valid points, and I think it's important. It's humane, right, to provide opportunities for people to use basic human needs like a restroom. I think that it's worth a follow-up conversation between our administrators here in the city, because, as Gretchen mentioned, it really might be a draw for those that are unsheltered and not enrolled in that program to come on site. And that's really what we're trying to not do. We're trying to make sure that it's really available and there as a life-saving need for the most vulnerable people that are experiencing homelessness. And so we just have a lot of things to weigh as far as the decision of a restroom that maybe isn't monitored and might draw in more people and cause other unintended consequences. So, but I definitely think I agree with a lot of your points, and I think that it's worth some follow-up conversation.
Yeah. I have a question about transportation. Do people that have access to that program receive vouchers for the Chariot buses, or do they just have to rely on those shuttles? If you're homeless, you probably don't have enough money to buy a bus pass or to pay for bus services. So is free transportation available other than the shuttle?
Yes, absolutely. And if and when Chariots is charging, then we have bus passes available for people, monthly ones.
Thank you.
I'm going to sneak in real fast. I have a question for you, Lindsay. So my understanding is that with this program, it's going to be the same participants more or less every single night. It's not going to be a revolving door of people, of different people. And so you know this population more than any of us. Do you foresee it being, how do I word this? If you're enrolled in a specific program and you have specific expectations of yourself to be in that program, I don't know if I necessarily see them abusing the neighborhood around them. This is just my point of view. If you're enrolled in this program, you have to be there every single day, or if you have bad behavior or misconduct, you'll be unenrolled from that program. I don't know if there is as much of a threat per se to Center 50 Plus as we might think. I think if there are these expectations from these participants that, you know, you have to leave the neighborhood every day between this time and this time, and you can't loiter around the local businesses and the local homes. I don't think I see a lot of these participants breaking those rules per se because they want to be in this program. I mean, and you know this population more than we do, so I'm wondering if you have any insight on that.
So I guess I can speak from opinion and experience. I do think that the weather can do a lot to somebody. It can really cause our behaviors to change. People sometimes will have increased mental health challenges because they want a warm bed. They want to go into a hospital or even a jail. When we're talking about the most vulnerable, our elderly homeless population, as well as people that are sick, they're already really sick out there. I really truly believe they just want a warm place to sleep. That's really what they want. They want just that little bit. If you've ever volunteered for a warming center, one of the things that I really take away every time is that people simply want to feel safe when they go to bed at night. And it's just a real joy to be able to provide a space. It's not a lot. It's not a solution, definitely. But to be able to just provide a space where people can be safe and monitored and they can sleep, which can really help improve quality of life, even that much more different. So all of the guests will know and understand as much as we can explain to them that, you know, this is the expectation. There's no loitering in the neighborhood and these are your options. And you're right, it's going to be the same people and we're going to be able to build rapport and relationships with them. And they're going to know that if they want to continue in the program, we're going to have to look at these things to determine if they're a good fit.
I appreciate that, Lindsay. I agree. And Rebecca, I understand what you're saying. I don't see this as a threat at all to the Center 50 Plus, but I just want to make sure everybody has what they need. That's my concern.
What do you anticipate the age breakdown to be?
Can't hear you, Lindsay.
There we go. I just wanted to clarify, what do you mean by age breakdown?
Can't hear you, David.
You're on mute. You want to unmute yourself? Oh, I'll try my best to answer. I anticipate, I think homelessness in Salem, the demographics, oftentimes compared to Portland, Eugene, Seattle, we see more elderly homeless people in this community as compared to like Eugene, for example. And all of the participants will be elderly. They'll be 65 or above. We do have several people that utilize our services currently that, you know, are at least 65, they're elderly, and over half of the people that chronically homeless people in Salem have chronic health conditions. So I would say anywhere between 65, 75 or so, and people that are sick. Hopefully I answered your question.
Yes.
Lindsay, this may be more of an offline conversation, but the organization I work for has a program called Seniors Serving Seniors. Now, a lot of them don't drive, and I guess my question would be, what can individuals that live in retirement communities or assisted living, what could they do to support your program? And to give you just an idea, I have lots of folks here that crochet. I have another couple that this time of year they collect jackets and coats and blankets. With the population you're serving with the warming center, there's a whole lot of folks that live in communities. Just wondering how we could potentially mobilize them, and they get a lot of personal satisfaction from helping others. So again, that may be too involved to really discuss here, but I would love to promote something like that throughout the area senior living community.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that question or that proposal, Lisa. We are actually this year, we're short donations in part due to COVID, in part due, we have a big outreach program now and people are getting items in the camps. We have a big need, honestly, for socks, hats, gloves, coats, just gently used items that, again, will possibly make life or death difference for people that are out there. As well as people that are cold during the day that need, an extra pair of gloves or hot hands. So our biggest needed items for anybody that's ever interested. And if you are interested, please contact me directly through Arches. But gloves, hot hands, coats, hats, beanie hats, winter hats, things like that. And socks, definitely dry, clean socks.
Perfect.
So I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lisa, I might just add that the United Way's Safe Sleep location was just talking about needing some blankets. So if you want, maybe we can connect about that too.
Absolutely. I'll put my email address over in the chat.
I have to step away soon to go to another meeting, but I just want to say, just to allay any fears, do you have any feedback for the group, or maybe this could be shared out if there's for other warming shelters, other neighborhoods and warming shelters, what's gone well, what hasn't, so that there's just kind of to draw from comparison, maybe from some of the churches that are neighborhoods, if there's been concerns raised, if there's ways to find common ground between the not wanting to draw attention to ourselves, but also wanting to get people served and maintain dignity. We're just curious if there's middle ground of other neighborhoods have found that's elsewhere.
I know that people are actively engaged in neighborhood association meetings. The pastors at all of our activation sites are fairly engaged. I think the Northgate neighborhood, it's new and it's unknown. And so we really want to provide transparency and be clear about what we're looking at. And just like with you guys, we want to work together with the community. We understand there isn't a one size fits all solution to homelessness, and this definitely isn't a solution either. But I respect and appreciate the varying opinions and the need for us to have our eyes or our consideration for what our partner organizations' needs are too. So I appreciate that, and I think that overall it's been. It's just like politics. People have different opinions. And at the end of the day, if we can all listen to each other and respect each other, then we'll all do the best we can. And so I think, I'll leave with that, and that I'm happy to continue these conversations. And I definitely want to provide transparency to you all. And I want to hear your concerns too.
I just have one question. You're talking about the across the street from the center. Are you going to put up like Quonset huts, or, you can't just put cots out there on the thing and expect it to keep them warm. So are you building something on that property?
Yeah, so it will be indoors. So it's the old DMV or old Zamora car lot building. And so there's great rooms, which will provide plenty of space for people to sleep. And if in the future we have the resources that we need, we'll have tent camping. So it's not the best solution, but it will be managed and safer tent camping for the community and for the people residing there. Are there any other questions? Would it be helpful for me to send out my email if you don't have it? Marilyn or whoever is facilitating this is more than welcome to send out my email with to the group if they have further questions.
Any other questions from the group?
Well, I don't so much have a question.
Okay, thank you so much for the information. I think a great conversation. Somebody else?
Yep, this is John. I don't so much have a question as much, I mean, I understand, Marilyn, your concerns, and I agree with some of those, most of them actually. My other concern is, given any consideration to the location, given the traffic pattern in that area, it is extremely complex, as well as if you're kicking people out at 7 a.m., then you've got heavy traffic coming into town going to work.
Yes, thanks, John. You are not the first person that's brought up that concern. So it's on our radar. And I mean, if there are reasonable solutions or things that we could look at to help address that, we definitely are open to it. It's going to be a tough, because you're absolutely right. That's a well-trafficked area, and it's a tricky intersection there too.
I can add that I know overall it seems really challenging to try to find locations, and each location that we look at appears to have positives and negatives to it. It's really interesting, but yeah, that's certainly one of the challenges to pay attention to there.
And I would just add that I think what Mel and others have shared, and I have shared, is just getting it on the radar so that we can address it. Not to shut it down, but to plan ahead so that we're not trying to catch up, instead being proactive. So I appreciate the conversation very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for listening and having me today. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Honestly, this is a very relevant conversation, and we really do appreciate bringing this to us so we can, discuss it. And we all have a lot more to think about in the future, I suppose. So I guess with that said, Marilyn, did you have a report, your monthly report?
I sure do, yeah. Okay, and I'll make it quickly because I know some of you had to get off at 10. So feel free for anybody that needs to hop off, go ahead and do that. Don't feel obligated to stay on and listen to Marilyn. I just wanted to give an update on what we've been doing here at Center 50 Plus. First, certainly, wanted to thank everyone who came out and supported the drive-through Halloween breakfast this last Saturday. We've actually had 2 drive-through events here that have been very successful. And people are just so excited to see one another, even if it's from a car. So I just wanted to thank everyone for doing that. I don't know how much the Friends made from it. It was a little fundraiser, but certainly it was great to see people's faces and wave and have that little connection. So we are not open to the public. We continue to be on that list of, the population we serve. We're not getting permission to bring groups back in together. And we're just being really careful about what we're offering from this space. However, we are still very busy providing services. So I wanted to go through those with you briefly. One, we are doing one-on-one appointments for Medicare counseling because it's open enrollment. We're doing one-on-one appointments for foot care because foot health is such an issue and people are having trouble getting their feet cared for. And then we're offering a couple of small group classes to see how they work. All of those require masks, temperature checks, and COVID screening when they arrive. And so we're talking very small numbers, but we are providing those services in person. As far as online, though, I would encourage you to check out our website at cityofsalem.net, as well as follow us on Facebook, because we are also doing quite a few online classes. We have a variety of conversation groups. We have online arts classes. We have, let's see, we have different discussion groups. We have a TED Talk where we watch and have a discussion about a different topic every week. We have online bingo. We have phone call bingo. That just talks about kind of the online types of things. We have daily fitness. We have online fitness courses that people can get and do from home. We have walking challenges, fitness challenges. We have friendly callers where we call people and check on them daily or weekly. We have Friendship Brigade where we take volunteers out to visit through windows and distanced people living in care settings. And then we have our food and care bag program where we deliver food to over 200 seniors a week. And that includes milk, eggs, cheese, bread, toilet paper, variety of items every week free of charge. And that is done in partnership with United Way. So we're kind of addressing nutrition. We're addressing some of the components that go with trying to fight social isolation and loneliness. So we have a lot of programs that we are doing virtually and through that. But I also, if you hadn't, we've been really promoting, we have a new program called WOW, which is Wellness on Wheels. And this van of ours goes out and does front porch senior center delivery of services. So from the front porch, we deliver arts and crafts. We will set them up on exercise and fitness programs with a personal trainer. We will deliver books from the library and brain exercises and welfare checks. So the WOW van is out and about, and we call it our mobile senior center, and it is delivering services. It is funded by Salem Health. It's funded by United Way. It's funded by P3 Health Partners, and it's funded by Home Instead Healthcare, Home Care. So we have some really strong partners, and we're growing that partnership to deliver more and more services. One of the reasons we had to really add this program is we know there is a huge group of seniors that are unable to access our programs that are being offered virtually. And they're needing more support with their technology. And you can either bring it into the center and have a one-on-one technology tutoring, but the WOW van is designed to go out and help people set up their smartphone, their tablet, or their computer so that they can access some classes, but not just our classes, but they can talk to their doctors, they can handle their banking, they can order their groceries, but to really help people connect through technology, because that was our biggest gap. We found that it's very challenging to teach a Zoom class over a Zoom meeting for the very first time. If that wasn't the funniest class we've ever taught ever, trying to teach people how to use Zoom over Zoom. So we have learned that it does require one-on-one and people coming, masks and gloves, but coming to help connect through their technology. The WOW van has such potential. We take out our dogs for our pet therapy. And whether it's just sitting on the front porch with the dog or seeing them through a window, we have seen such huge improvements in mood and outlook on life by having the connections with not only volunteers, but these special canines. And so we're very excited about the WOW van and what's going on with it. We're just beginning to figure out how to use the WOW van and all of its potential. But this COVID has been a major challenge for us, but at the same time, a huge growing opportunity. We have improved tenfold on our own personal usage of technology, but we have always talked about being a senior center without walls. And the WOW van, and due to COVID and the funding we could secure, it launched us forward into that whole idea of Center 50 Plus without walls. And while COVID has been challenging and just a very difficult time, there are some things that have come out of it that have made us a better organization. And so I celebrate that actually with you today, some of the growth and opportunities we've had. So as far as what's happening here, we are not, we have been told to kind of, nothing will change in terms of groups and classes and full operations. And we will discuss it again in January. So we're getting through the holidays. But I will frankly be honest with you, I do not think the whole drop in, hang out at Center 50 Plus, unscheduled kind of activity is on our radar until probably the next year, for sure. For some of our new folks, on a normal day, we can have 1,000 people a day here, several hundred of them that are coming unscheduled to use the pool room, to use the lapidary, the wood shop, the gym. We will not have the same kind of drop-in type of activities. We will have to be a reservation and scheduled location so that we can manage the social distancing guidelines, the COVID checking and all of that. So for sure, we're going to just continue doing what we're doing till the new year, evaluate small group, bringing back less than 10 people at a time for different subjects. And in the meantime, we've purchased software for check-in systems. We've purchased software for reservation systems. We've moved to an online platform for class delivery that will continue. But we're just continuing to kind of look at every opportunity we can to connect with our seniors in different ways. And so if you think of it, we probably are doing it by phone, by mail, by front porch, through volunteerism, using lots of volunteers to stay connected. So that's my report. As far as layoffs or change in staffing, we have not had to do that. We've just repurposed everyone to continue our outreach efforts. And at this time, we're submitting a budget, a standard budget for the new fiscal year. And we'll carry forward and hopefully see some changes in how we can deliver services as we move into the spring and summer. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. I wanted you first to hear, didn't want you to read about the shelter across the street in the newspaper. So I'm so glad we could have that conversation. In particular, think that's such an important conversation because you all were a part of the last couple of years where we were struggling with some of these topics. And I just want us to be open and consider what kind of partnering and what kind of services we can be offering to that population, which is the population we serve here, is seniors. So thank you for participating in that conversation. And do you have any questions for me?
Marilyn, I had a quick question.
Yes.
I'm just curious how this, you're going to submit a normal budget come this next year, but how has this affected the revenue so far? I mean, I feel like it can't be good. So I'm just curious, how have you guys addressed it?
So revenue is not, we are not collecting at the regular, of course. I mean, we're not open, so it's hard. We don't have rental revenue. We don't have major class revenue, and our Friends organization, whose all their fundraising efforts have been eliminated by COVID. They cannot travel. They cannot hold bingo. They cannot open their gift shop. And so those are their major fundraising. Oh, and they can't hold major fundraising events. So our Friends organization has been challenged, but they are so fiscally responsible and actually run on such a lean budget that they're holding the line and doing and just doing fine. They're just not spending any money, so they're holding it. So as far as the city and our budget, we are not collecting money. However, we have contracts that we have been in with, for example, Northwest Senior Disability Services, State of Oregon. We get Medicaid reimbursements. Our respite program gets contract money from the state. All of those contracts have continued because they need us to be here when COVID lifts or when we get through this time. And so they have been giving us funding to maintain our outreach efforts, and that has been a huge support. And then finally, our private gifts and donations from the community have been significantly increased. People have stepped up and provided a lot of funding to do our outreach that we're doing. And because I shifted responsibilities for my staffing to supporting that, we can use those dollars to continue the operations at the center. We are a general fund, so our budget was already in place when this happened. But we don't know what it means for future years. The way a budget works for the city, it's usually a year behind the way our property taxes are collected. So no money, not a lot of money, but a lot of generosity that's helped us make it. Anything, Rebecca, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's terrific. I mean, it's amazing how community will always come up and support community. And it's just amazing to see that in the work. So,
you know, we started our social isolation and loneliness campaign, the fight against that 2 years ago. And so we already knew that we had seniors impacted by loneliness. Well, what happened is then everyone became isolated. And it was really an awakening for many people when they personally had to experience the distancing from COVID, for them to realize what some of our seniors live all the time prior to COVID, and that empathy and that change in mindset really was significant. I think we all have experienced loneliness now, and now we can relate to what some of our seniors live with on a regular basis. Any other questions? Lisa, David, any of our new folks that have any questions for me? We're going to have an orientation. I will go ahead and set a Zoom meeting with our new folks, and we'll go through bylaws and handbook and procedures, and we'll make sure you have our newest annual report and our strategic operation plan so that you can see our foundation goals and all of that. So I will definitely connect and make sure that you have the information that will help you.
Thank you. Very informative.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yeah, it's so good to see new faces. We're so excited. I'm just sorry you can't be with us, because normally in September we have a nice retreat with breakfast and we spend a half a day together setting goals. And so now here we are.
Well, my letter said this was a short-term temporary, and that I should let you know if I'd like to continue into the new year. So yes.
Okay. Short-term temporary, is that 30 days or what?
Through the end of the year.
Oh, okay. Good. Yes. Yes. I love having you in here. Any other thoughts, suggestions, any other feedback in regards to what we talked about today, or anything I can do?
Nope.
If any of you are looking for volunteer opportunities and you are not currently on our volunteer list, we are desperate for drivers. We are desperate for drivers and then also people to deliver. We're going to have we're partnered with Home Instead to do be a Santa to a senior. So we'll be delivering 300 presents in December. So if anybody has a opportunity or time or willing to do front porch delivery, let me know because we could use some help.
Awesome. Well, Marilyn, you touched on the Friends fundraising. Nancy, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I know that people seem to enjoy our drive-through Halloween breakfast. On Saturday, we were busy, and one of the nice things with the library joined us and handed out tote bags and information on how to do online books and such, and we appreciated that. So, and appreciated all the donations that came in from Ross for the donuts and Linda's family for the apples, and we had a really nice breakfast, and we're looking forward to the Christmas tea that will be coming up, but that information will be coming out later. So, but outside of that, Friends is we're still friendly and we're still going strong. And I know that last week when I delivered my food bag on Thursday, one of the ladies is a grandmother and her granddaughter was with her. And when she saw me, she started clapping her hands and she said, "Oh yes, it's the food lady. It's the food lady," and she came running to the door. So, we're making an impact. And I don't believe this woman has ever been to our center. I believe she's just maybe through United Way wound up on our list, and she's a very lovely lady. And now she's said, well, when the center reopens, I want to volunteer. So we are reaching out to people and things are being accomplished. But Friends is still strong, going strong. Thank you for asking.
Well, shall we close the meeting?
Sounds good.
I'm not sure how that works, Marilyn. Do we need to move to close the
Oh,
meeting?
Rebecca got disconnected. So here we go. We'll just say, will somebody please make a motion that we conclude the meeting and we will
I'll
adjourn.
make a motion, Marilyn.
Nancy makes it.
Yep.
Second.
David will second, and where we go, we're going to go ahead and